Good.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. If you have a cell phone, please silence it or turn it off. Either way is fine. Do you leave it at home? Good for you. Why keep your head up? You are. If you need to leave at any time here, please feel free to do so. That way. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alright, approval of agenda with additions or deletions. Do you have anything? Okay. Gary? Good?
Good.
Any other motion?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Jerry, you're quicker than me tonight. All right, new business, we have our audit presentation.
Alright, so, Tanya, with Tanya Stars Associates will give a presentation on the 2024 fiscal year audit.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good evening, Mayor and Aldermen. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, sure. It is my pleasure tonight to present to you the results of your fiscal year 2024 audit. As Jonathan said, my name is Tanya Thompson. I'm a senior manager with Martin Stars and Associates. This is my second year as your auditor, and happy to be here and be able to share the good news with you. So I'm going to go through some key highlights, mostly the financial highlights. But first, I like to start with what I consider one of the most important things, which is our opinion. You know, you hire us as your auditors to give you an opinion about whether the town's financial report, which you have in front of you, I see with the lovely blue covers, is fairly presented in accordance with accounting statements that are required. And our opinion is yes, that it is a clean opinion, unmodified opinion. Your financial statements are presented as they should be in accordance with GAAP. I want to take just a second and thank Jonathan and everyone at the town. This is a process. An audit is not an easy process. It involves a lot of questions, a lot of requests for documentation, back and forth, support. It is definitely a partnership. We worked very hard on both sides of the aisle to get the audit done. We were able to get it done with no issues and no findings. If we were to have a material weakness that we discovered, it's not the point of an audit, but if we were to come across it, we would be required to report that to you. So I'm happy to say we did not report any material weaknesses in your internal controls at the town. We were able to submit the audit on time, meaning before the October 31st deadline. So overall, a very smooth audit process. And once again, thank you, John, for making that happen. So I just have some high-level highlights for you about what happened during your year in your general fund. So you can see the green are your revenues and the red are your expenditures compared year to year. There was about a $1 million increase overall in your revenues in the general fund. That's about 27%. And your expenditures increased $657,000. That's about 14% from year to year. And we'll get into some of the details of your main revenues and expenses. So the top three revenues in your general fund are your property taxes at 47%, your unrestricted intergovernmental, those are things, mostly sales tax, and your sales and services, things like your garbage collection fees. Those represent $4 million or 78% out of that total of $5 million of your revenue, those top three categories. So if we drill down a little bit and look just at ad valorem taxes, you'll see a pretty significant increase there of $785,000, which is 51%. That is due to the county level revaluation that occurred. Unrestricted intergovernmental, again, this is mostly your local option sales tax. There was a $45,000 increase or 5%. Sales and services also increased by about $76,000. That's a 16% increase. That was due to a $2 increase in your refuse collection fees and also growth in the customer base of that service. Now we'll switch gears a little and take a look at your expenditures. Your top three expenditures are your public safety at 49%, your general government at 17%, and transportation at 12%. Those top three expenditures represent $4.1 million out of that $5.2 million. That's 77% of your total expenditures. In public safety, you'll see $189,000 or 8% increase. There were a couple of reasons for this increase, both increases in your salaries and benefits, and also you had some capital purchases during the year. For your general government expenditures, those did increase $61,000 or 8%. Also a variety of contributing factors there, including professional fees and some repairs and maintenance that we're looking at. Last, we have your transportation department, which increased significantly, $244,000, which was 60%. However, that increase was mostly due to capital purchase of your leaf back truck, so that's a one-time purchase. So we talked about your revenues and expenses, and the way that that affects your fund balance is your revenues were significantly more than your expenses, and we ended up with a $939,000 increase to the bottom line of your fund balance. So at the end of 2024, your total fund balance was just under $5 million compared to just over $4 million in the prior fiscal year. So one important way that we look at fund balance in the state of North Carolina is this concept of available fund balance. and that is a statutory calculation that says how much you have available at the end of fiscal year 24 that you are allowed to appropriate and use in the next year's budget. So that available fund balance number at the end of fiscal year 24 was $4,551,835. That is an increase of about $897,000 from the prior year, when your available fund balance was $3.7 million. Another way that we look at fund balance available instead of just a number is as a percentage of the expenditures. And the LGC has a very specific way that they calculate those expenditures. Net expenditures take into account transfers out to other funds and installment purchases and things like that. So that net expenditure number compared to a fund balance available, excluding power bill. And the reason the LGC excludes power bill from this calculation is because it varies so greatly. You can accumulate it and then spend it all in 1 year. So by excluding the power bill from this calculation, it removes some of that up and down that you would get. So if we compare your 22, 23, and 24 fund balance available percentages, it went from 85.8% in 22 to 79% in 23, and then 81% in 24. And that means that you have enough reserves on hand, your fund balance available to cover 81% of your expenditures for the next fiscal year, should you need them for reserves for whatever reason. Now, the LGC does have a minimum recommended fund balance available percentage for your peer group, that is 34%. They don't want you to go below 34%. And in comparison, other members of your peer group across the statewide average is 63%. So you are doing well with your fund balance percentage right now. On the water and the sewer fund side, I have some just key information there about what happened during the year. You had positive cash flows from operations of just over $660,000. Your total net position was $10.5 million. The unrestricted portion of that, which is kind of comparable to that available fund balance, was right at $3.2 million. And you had a positive increase in your net position of just under $1 million. One factor that the LGC looks at closely for an operating fund, such as a water and sewer fund, is that quick ratio, which yours is 9.69. They look for it to be at least 1. So 1 means you have just enough current assets to cover your current liabilities. And 9.69 means your current assets are 9.69 times larger than your current liabilities. For the electric fund, you did have positive cash flows from operations, just over 1,000. Your total net position is $9.6 million. Your unrestricted net position is $4.7 million. And you had a decrease in your net position overall of $607,000. Again, that quick ratio in the electric fund is well above the 1 minimum that we would need to see at 10.6. So performance indicators are things that give you an idea if there's something going on that maybe you need to look into. And a few years ago, the LGC put this into place, where they collect a lot of data and then they run the data through ratios and things like that to see if anything pops up. And you did have a lot of positive performance indicators that we've already touched on. Your fund balance available percentage, your quick ratios, the fact that your audit was submitted on time, the fact that there were no reportable audit findings, and also stable property tax valuation and collection percentage. There were 2 performance indicators that kicked up that require a response back to the LGC. Now, these are not audit findings, these are more operational issues that the LGC has said you need to look into and respond to these red flags, is what they call them. So your capital asset condition ratio was below the threshold of 0.5. That means that it is more than half of its life old, which could indicate that you near-term capital investment to keep that capital system going. You also have a water.
Read that again.
Yes, so the capital asset condition ratio means that the life of your capital asset, the infrastructure of water and sewer fund is more than half old. It's actually at 0.45. So that means you could have, in the near term, capital requirements to keep that up to date and keep it operational. There was also a water and sewer operating transfer from the general fund to the water and sewer fund. So this kicked up as a red flag because the LGC doesn't want an enterprise fund like the water and sewer fund relying on operating transfers from the general fund. It really should stand on its own 2 feet. And in your case, this was a one-time transfer of excess funds due to the ARPA funds that came in that the council decided to vote to move into the water and sewer fund. So as a one-time funding, I don't think that it really will be too much of an issue to respond to the LGC. They're looking for an ongoing transfers that are a water and sewer fund is relying on the general fund for support, and that's really not what happened here. You will have 60 days from today's date to provide a written response to the local government commission on these 2 items. That response will need to be signed by the town manager, finance director, and the majority of the board. That concludes my presentation, but I am happy to answer any questions that you have about it or anything else you might have seen in your audit report, if I can.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Mr. New, do you have anything else on the audit?
Yeah.
Next, we have Nolan for a presentation on Summit Creek.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, members of the Board of Aldermen, Nolan Gross with Urban Design Partners, here this evening to discuss the part of the Summit Creek project off of Dallas High Schools Highway. This is zone petition 2024-02. You can see the site as it exists today, the existing town water tower. So here's an aerial of our site. The overall Summit Creek development is approximately 36.7 acres. To the west of Dallas High Schools Highway, north of Shepherd's Way Drive, and intersecting Ollie Way, where the water tower is located. It's a little small to see, but the area outlined in the light blue is the area that we are requesting to rezone, and part of it is the area we are requesting to annex into the town of Dallas. So here's a zoomed-up image of our rezoning area, The entire area is proposed to be rezoned, and then the easternmost triangle is the annexation portion, but I've got some better imagery that later in the presentation. Here's an existing zoning map. Part of the boundary is assigned Dallas R12, and the portion to be annexed is currently assigned Gaston County R1 zoning. The Dallas 2030 Comprehensive Land Use Plan's future land use map identifies this area as a mixture of single-family residential and governmental facilities, because at the time of the 2030 Land Use Plan, the town owned part of this property given the water tower on site. The developer closed on a portion of this property after going through the upset bid process with the town in, I believe, April of this year. So here's that additional imagery that kind of highlights the annexation portion versus the rezoning portion. So this is really 2 requests. We're requesting to annex the portion on the right that's outlined in blue on this. Let's see if I can get the maps over here. And, but the blue portion is the annexation area. It's approximately 2,850 square feet. The entire boundary we are requesting to rezone from the two districts to Town of Dallas conventional R5 zoning. The western portion you can see is already existing town limits. That portion of property does purchase from the town. Here's the approved land development construction plan, the overall site plan for the Sunny Creek development. You can also see the small green triangle there is outlining our annexation and rezoning request. Again, this is a conventional rezoning petition, so if annexed and rezoned, the R5 standards would apply to the development of this area, which has a minimum square footage of 5,500 square feet, width of 50, setbacks of 25, and side yards at 6 feet. I will say, if annexed and rezoned, 4 additional lots can be added to the development. So I know I flew through that really quickly, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Alderman Curley, it looks like you may have a few questions.
I'm clear on that on that 6 foot.
Yes, sir. So this project has a fairly long history for an entitlement and a land development project. The original portion of this site, the main 26 acres, which is, let me see if I can get a better image. So you see the lighter gray, the R5, was annexed and rezoned 2019. So that part was annexed and rezoned when the R5 ordinance was originally adopted. So it's conventional, it's a by right development there. There are 3 parcels added that were annexed and rezoned in 2022. Those are the external parcels to the east and to the southeast that are CDR5, which is the darker gray. So when those parcels came before the Board of Aldermen, it was at the same time as Little Long Creek, the western development, where we were conditionally rezoning the parcels and the condition of an additional side yard setback was introduced. So for those parcels, they do have an increased side setback from 6 feet to 8 feet per home. Now, what we're requesting this evening, given the size of the piece of property, is a conventional R5. So the majority of this site is a conventional R5. And given the location being more interior, that's the request, which would have a 6-foot side yard setback. So by right, it is 6 feet. Those additional parcels and other projects are 8 feet. We're going through the conditional rezoning process.
I've already read it all. How many houses are you gonna put on that small piece right there?
So I've looked at only 4 lots can be generated, 4 additional lots. So on this plan, 120 lots are already approved. We have engineering approvals for construction, permits through NCDEQ through the state. We'd have to go back, should this be approved, should the properties be annexed and rezoned. We'll submit an RTAP, which is a revision to approved plans, where we would have to show grading on these lots, show meters, and different things. But we have to go back through and achieve.
I think where it's permits. What Jerry's talking about in the board, I got confused on this too. 2 developments came right there. I was thinking, we were talking about this is Sunny Creek. I was thinking Long Creek, and we did do 8 foot on that. But this was done prior.
It predated Little Long Creek, however, that out parcel, so in this imagery on the screen, the southeastern portion and the northeastern along the driveway to Dallas High Shoals Highway, there's I believe 7 or 8 lots there. We did require those to go through the conditional process because overall it was about 40 or 50 lots, so those do have an 8-foot side yard setback. But the majority of the site predates the act, so it is a conventional R5 zoning with 6-foot side yards.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Bushy. Alright, on to our noise ordinance. So, we recently had a meeting, our last board meeting about this, and we were given some material that stated that November, when was that? That in July of 2012, the ordinance was changed to 12 midnight. And the staff was tasked with reviewing the noise ordinance, and Mr. Hunn did that. And he found that it did not change. So in July of 2012, staff was advised to present a revised ordinance at the next meeting with a public hearing. The next meeting, August 2012, the first item went under public hearing. There were 3 yeses and 2 nos. There needed to be 4 affirmative votes from board members to pass. It was brought back to the next board meeting in September to approve. In September of 2012, item 9A, no motion was made, so the ordinance will remain in its original form. Attached, you guys will see the current noise ordinance, and Mr. if you want to go from there.
So after the last board meeting, staff was directed to come back with an option or 2. And so myself, Chief Walls, and Tom has talked. And option 1 would be leave as be. Although I think we still need to add something in for generic everyday use, not general permit, general entertainment permit. So my recommendation would be to look deeper into leaving the general entertainment permit the same, but we need to add for anyone outside of the area of general entertainment permit. I'm proposing to do a noise ordinance from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., no more than 70 decibels, and then from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., drop it to 60. The reason for that is because our generic, I'll say just everyday noise ordinance, there's no time restraints, there's no dates, there's no decibel readings, any of that stuff. So to be able to have someone pay for a general entertainment permit, I think it needs to be a perk for them to pay for that. So if they can meet a decibel with a certain time for our generic ordinance.
Yeah, those policies do need to be updated, and I do agree with that, that there does need to be a generic for just our general citizens, that there is a noise ordinance. And then for the entertainment permit.
And I would say just leave the general entertainment the same, but the 80 decibels at the same times. 80? 80 is what it is now. And Chief Wilson speaking well on his side of it.
Yeah, I do agree with the manager. I think in our overall ordinance, we do need to have some kind of a decibel reading in there somewhere, because the way the ordinance is reading right now, from a law enforcement side, any call we get in this town, it's not a general entertainment noise permit thing, it's just a general noise ordinance. It's pretty much just very vague. If I live beside you and my dog runs outside, or my child, we had this a couple years ago, a kid bouncing basketball, not shooting basketball. We got a call on that, and we had to tell those people that the child had to come inside and couldn't bounce the basketball because it was disturbing the neighborhood inside. So I think if we have some kind of a number on there, that would help us, because right now that thing is so wide open. Anybody could call like anything in the town, and I think that's going to create more problems for us at the courthouse. I did speak to our district attorney, Mr. Page, and advised him of what ordinance we have in place now. You know, they will prosecute the ordinance. He said that it's not one of those ordinances that when it goes up to court, they're going to dismiss it. They will prosecute it, but he did agree that he thinks having some kind of a number in there for the overall ordinance would help as far as the district attorney's office goes. But he went over our ordinance with me, and he said that he does agree that after a certain time, there does need to be some kind of a number on there that holds just everybody to the standard that you can't do this after a certain period of time. That's kind of the feedback I have on that. I do agree. I try to look at it on both sides. I'm trying to look at it on the side if I was a business owner, and I have to look at it on the side if I was sitting in my home at night trying to relax. And it's just one of those things. It's a tough decision for you as a board to have to look at and come up with. But whatever the board agrees to, the police department will honor whatever ordinance we have in place and we'll do our best to enforce it.
We need to make it for each and every business, not just one.
Yes, sir. If we get a complaint on any
Because
business,
it's gonna be coming.
yeah, because you're
Outside entertainment is gonna be coming.
yeah, you're absolutely right. We gotta do that.
Gotta put a stop to it somewhere.
And just so you all know what happens with our ordinances in town, I don't have the manpower to have officers just riding around town looking for ordinance violations. It's just really hard to do. Because of the calls they're answering, it's just hard to have them do that. We answer a lot of our ordinance calls based off calls when they come in. If those calls come in, and we answer them as a call for service. But as far as having a person just dedicated to just riding around looking at ordinance violations, I just don't have the manpower to do that, and I just have to take those as they come in. So if someone calls in on another business and say we have these plans, then we will address that as that call comes in as well. We're not just focusing on one business. It would be any business in town that does that. And if they're having live entertainment or doing those things, then they would need to get those correct permits they're supposed to get. And if they don't, then we would have to enforce that as well. I'd make a visit to them and encourage them and educate them on what we have currently right now and whatever we may have in the future.
Making sure everything's up to date. We want to make sure that we are supporting our businesses that are here as well as our residents. So that's something that I think these policies just simply need to be updated. Something else I've been thinking about is with the entertainment permit. I don't know, I didn't do the research on when it was created, but I do think there needs to be an increase on the fee. I don't know what that would look like. I know it's $400 for the year right now.
Like when we were looking, I think Bessemer City, Belmont, Mount Holly, a lot of those don't have a generic entertainment permit for the year. It's, anytime you want to do it, it's $25. So I can get some comps and see
That'd be great.
what others charge that has generic.
My next question, do anybody know what comparable towns as far as escorting time, all that stuff surrounding town?
So, again, a lot, well, the ones that we looked at doesn't have a general ordinance versus general permit for a business. Bessemer Cities is, no more than 70 decibels, and it drops to 65. Mount Holly's, they just have time frames, they don't have decibel readings for excessive noise. I think we had Belmont too, right?
We have Belmont as well.
Yes,
Belmont too, a lot. It was just about like the one we have now. What you run into, just so y'all know, the problem you're gonna run into is if you don't put a number on there, you're gonna have officer discretion. So if that officer A pulls up tonight, and they feel like that noise is not to a level that's disturbing people, then they can say no action, no record. But the next night, if a new officer's in the work, and that officer feels like that noise is loud enough, then he can do it. So a lot of that's officer discretion if we don't have something to go by. If it's just wide open like that. And I think that's what the manager says. From the police side, it would be nice if you all could maybe look at something like that for us as a general number. It would help us a lot when it comes to if we had to cite someone for that for court purposes.
Well, and that would be helpful too for the business owner to say, okay, well, this is black and white, I know what it is, and I know what it's not. Also for the residents to know, okay, this is that, and then everybody's kind of on the same page and able to really support each other in that sense as well, just know where we are. I think even the city of Asheville is 10 o'clock. Can't have anything after that. Yeah. But I think the times, I know it's late, but the times aren't too bad. But I do think that we need to look at the fees for that. I mean, Jeremiah does a good job at keeping entertainment. So I think that $25 per would be really busy for him to say, okay, I mean, he would be in town hall all the time, but maybe that's something we could do to say, okay, well, it's either a $25 fee or you pay for the permit for the year.
Right.
Kind of like a membership in a way.
And the reason for doing something like that is I go back to, someone having a pool party on a Saturday. And, they don't want to violate it, they can get a $25 fee, and then they can go up to X amount.
Yeah, and if Sam was just saying that if any of you guys have ideas that you think would be beneficial for our residents, citizens, and our business owners, especially around the block, if you have ideas, just let Jonathan know. That way we can kind of put them out, discuss them at our next board meeting, and then make a decision. And if y'all have an idea, feel free to call Jonathan, myself, or any of us and let us know what you think would be good, and maybe something will mesh and work out.
I do have a question. Jonathan, what did you say the max decibel reading for Belmont or one of the other towns in the area was?
So the best for cities is 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., no more than 7. And then from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., no more than 65, so they dropped 5. And I could not find it, but they did not have, that's for everybody, businesses included with residential residents.
Well, even here, we have max of 8.
For a general entertainment permit, yes. That's what I would request, again, because if you're gonna make someone pay for a permit, my eyes is they need to have a permit for that. So we need to put in general everyday ordinance a time with a lower decibel than that, and then you pay the $400, you get the general entertainment permit, and you can go up to 80. Or you guys can increase the decibels for that time frame for a general permit. You can go up to 90.
Do you have an idea of what the decibels sound like in relation to?
I Googled it, but I think it's totally different. If you're in the area, so if I remember right, I think 50 or 60 was like a vacuum cleaner or a heavy rainfall. But if you're right in front of said noise ordinance, it would be a lot louder. That
Right.
Because when I looked at equivalent to the numbers, I was astonished that 60 decibels is regular.
Yeah. Chief, do you have a radar or reader?
We do have a decibel meter at the police department. Make sure that thing's calibrated. You have to make sure it's calibrated. And basically what you do is say if you get a complaint from House A, or you get a complaint from House A to House B, we would go out to House A that's called in the complaint, and you would go 10 foot from the property line of the house that's supposedly playing music, and you do the decibel reading for 30 seconds. And then whatever that average number is, where that reads, that's how you base that off on whether they're in violation. I might misremove it. It just depends. You don't really know. A lot of it's going to depend on how that sounds carried, because you're off of that property line. You're not standing inside of the business or the residence. With it, you have to stand outside the way our ordinance is written now. So what may sound loud as that noise carrier may not be high enough to set that meter off to where it's at a sound. And what we always do on that meter, I always try to make sure it's calibrated, and we put the settings on it that benefits everybody involved. But I mean, we could have a conversation. I could sit right here. This one probably reads 70 or 75 decibels. But if I stood 10 foot from here, it's not going to have that same reading. So a lot of that's going to be dependent on where you stand. It's going to depend on traffic conditions. It's going to depend on if it's in the summer, winter, and summertime, the trees are going to absorb some of that sound. There's a lot of different variables, so it would be hard for me to tell you kind of what a normal reading would be for music, because it just varies on what type of music it is, how many people's at that event, because you've got a lot of people, it's that sound's going to be absorbed by them as well. So it'd be kind of hard to put an exact number on what an average would be. But to write that citation, we would make, if we had to write it, we would make sure, that's what the district attorney has, is we put the reading on there, make sure that we listen that what's calibrated, which it is, I'll make sure it's calibrated, but kind of the same thing, we'd have to make sure the equipment was correct before we went out to do that.
Well, and also, thinking about it, this is something that we have to look at as Dallas grows. The residents, that's going to increase, hopefully the businesses increase, and so we wanna make it conducive to everyone. And so really, I'm really asking you guys, if you have ideas, please share them, because it's not, we can't just do it by ourselves. I mean, we could, but it's nice to have input from everyone. Not saying I would use it, but it's helpful. Really.
So most of these businesses are next to residential, all the way around,
Right,
not just one place.
yeah,
So you got residents from one, every corner. So, and we got a small space here for business, and we need all the business we can get. It's families.
well, I think so.
So do we bring this back December for a vote, or we have to do a text amendment and all that, or do we care that a little longer to get feedback and things like that?
I mean, I think let's put it on December to get a vote, and then if we have to table it, then we don't like it, we can't.
So what would we be voting on, putting the decibel reading on general noise ordinance?
General with a time frame as well, and leave it as general entertainment, so.
Just for a general.
So just for the general though, but then for the entertainment permit,
Leave it the same, or if you have recommendations to increase the decibel reading or change the time. But I have no,
bring that too, and I think we look at that as with the fees, but also making sure that it's, if somebody's paying for it, that there is a perk to it, or an incentive at some level to why they're paying for it. So thinking about those things, what would the fee look like? Do we do an individual fee, like Jonathan was saying, $25 per event? Or do we do a flat rate of just a number, $500 a year? Give an option,
What are they paying now?
$400 a year.
I mean, the only reason we're talking about noise ordinance is it really don't get nothing to do with decibel reading, because that's not what this is about. It's about times. So we probably just need to decide if we're going to entertain the offer of changing the times or not entertaining the offer of changing the times. I mean, we need to clean our ordinance up. I know what you're saying about decibel reading. Yes, I think we need to clean that back in December and fix that for the general ordinance, just so that will help. But also, as far as general entertainment, we should need.
The complaints we've been receiving over the last several months have been time related, correct? It's not actual decibel number. It's the times of when a permit expires. So that's something I think Mr. Martin said maybe that, to look at one way or another, either stays that way or it changes time.
Correct. Yes, because I don't think you have any problem with decibel readings as on the general every day.
For the most
Or
part,
every week,
if not the numbers, no, it's just the times that we're struggling.
How late, I don't even know, this is awful. How late are the businesses on the square open? Jeremiah, what time do y'all close?
We're scheduled to close at 11 during the week, 2 o'clock on weekends. But honestly, if we get out there earlier, we get out there earlier. This past Saturday, we closed up at 15 after 1, we were tired right now. During the week, we say 11, but typically we're out there about 10:30, so, you know.
What about, you rabbit? Does anybody know about the rabbit? Or how big
I
it
can
is?
hear them in mine.
Can you?
The rabbit closes down at 11, completely shuts down at 11. So that's where all the extra, people come from the rabbit to here.
And it closes at 11 every day?
No,
Even on
just
weekends?
on weekends, that I'm aware of, just on weekends.
Just on weekends. Sammy's, I think is 11.
reading's not the problem, it's the time of shut off is the problem, 1000%.
So you were saying that we,
I was thinking that if we're gonna bring something back, that's two different things we're talking about, I think. I think, yes, what we're gonna put on the agenda for this year, yes, we need to go ahead and do that and clean that up. But if anybody has an idea about the time, now's the time to share them.
well, what do you have, anything as far as times go? Do you like them, not like them? Do you think that they should change?
I thought it should be 12. They really is looking.
So my opinion is, I'm good with it every week, just because, I mean, most everybody goes to work during the week. If I was to give any one bit on the times, it would only be Friday and Saturday as well. And all this, I mean, I know Jeremiah wants, he would love it to be two, just because you make more money. And, you would like it to be 10.
I'm good with the time, as long as the time's off when
But, I mean, if I was to change any on the full on that, probably the most I would ever go each way.
But only on weekends?
And yes, I would only be able to do that Friday, Saturday.
I think here's my thing, if we did that, then I would say change it to 10 o'clock for the weekdays. I mean, but it's just a me thing.
I'm thinking every weekday, most people go to work, right? I'm just gonna work.
Me too.
Well, you don't have that much during the week, do you? Middle of the week.
Is there a lot here in the middle of the week?
I do karaoke on Tuesdays, rabbit does it on Wednesdays, front porch positions that started on karaoke on Thursdays, you do it on Fridays, I think the rabbit does it on Fridays. So pretty much every business right now that offers entertainment is doing karaoke at least one day during the week. So there's entertainment going on at least, I'd say Tuesday through Saturday in Dallas. At least.
And that can be something that we put in the general is 10 o'clock all around, 11 o'clock for the permit, they pay the fee. I don't know, again, these are just, I'm spitballing ideas at this point. Just things to think about. But I don't want it to be hidden about what we're thinking, I want to be forward with it. What do you think?
If I had a concern,
Yeah.
about if we adjust the times, the issue I don't want to run into is say we adjust the time from 9 to 10, 11 to 12. Well, now is there 12 going to be 1? Once we set a time, I just want you all to know, once it's voted on and approved, I'm going to enforce that time.
Okay.
I'm not going to give leeway of 10 minutes here or 15. If whatever time we decide on, that's all we're asking the police department. Is I just want it known, I want it done, and I want us to be able to rock and roll with this because we are stuck in the middle of we're trying to work with business and we're trying to work with our residents, and we have to make them all work together, but and that's gonna go for any business, not just 1 or 2 or 3, or for any residents. Whatever we decide on and land on, just so you all know, is we're gonna be professional, but we are gonna enforce that if it's changed or not changed. Once we get that definite answer from you as the board members and mayor, we're gonna fix what needs to be fixed if it needs to be fixed. So I just want y'all to know, I'm gonna be straightforward and say we're not gonna give you 5-10 minute leeway. If it's a time that the board sets this and it's signed off on, that's the time we're gonna enforce, whether it be 11, 12, or it be 9.
Well, that's what you're asking.
If you get a call, that's when you do it.
Yes, sir. Now, I'll say this, I have an officer riding around, and my officer's in downtown, and it's 9:30, and he hears music playing, then I'm expecting him as a police officer to go check on that noise disturbance. I mean, they're supposed to do that too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if they don't have that time to do that, that's fine, and, if we keep having complaints, that's just like anything. If I have a lot of complaints in a certain area of town, and it's a lot of drug-related complaints, well, guess what? I'm gonna have officers start watching that area more. So if I have an area in town that starts having a lot of noise complaints, guess what? I'm gonna have my officers start focusing more on that area for the noise. So those things are as we get those issues that come up, I'm gonna have those officers kind of gear their way over to that so that we can try to correct those problems. So it's one of those, we answer by call, but if I continue to have problems in an area, I'm gonna have them focus more on that area to try to eliminate that problem or get it to where it's feasible and we can manage it.
Okay, so just to be clear, the general entertainment side is possible to grow.
Say again.
The general entertainment will go to 12. What about that?
I was just me saying, I mean, anybody, I would be all right with 12 o'clock on Friday. But I think I'd leave 9 o'clock on the other.
It's 12 o'clock now.
11.
11 now, I thought it was 11 to 12.
I had a business done, that I did that business in West Arkansas. Till that.
But I wouldn't change it during the week. But
Yeah, I don't think that. During the week.
I just don't want to drag, I mean, I don't want to drag them along forever.
Well,
I
yeah.
mean, because they're the ones that brought it up. So I'm going to give them an answer somehow, at least what I think. And I like it.
And so Justin, oh, go ahead.
I was just asking for the ordinance to be looked at, because it is very vague on some events. So when I approach somebody on the board, or a chief, or a police officer, it's completely open to interpretation. So as a business owner, I might be reading it one way. Chief would be reading it another way. Somebody else is reading it another way. Well, who gets the hammer? Right now, I'm getting the hammer dropped on me. I'm 1 violation away from being charged by a misdemeanor by the town of Dallas. I've never been a problem in 7 years. Now I'm 1 right away from being charged with a misdemeanor.
So for right now, for sure, it's 9 and 11.
Yeah, I'm gonna say right now, just so that everyone's clear, it's 9 and 11 right now. Okay, so that you both at least have an understanding and then can work together from that or not, but work together from that standpoint that it is 9 through a week, 11 o'clock on weekends.
And I did meet with the chief, and we did sit down and talk about the ordinance and the decimal meters and decimal readings. I went and purchased the same one that the town of Dallas has. So our readings, I even took it to Twin and set it up for me. So it's set up just as the police department has it. So decimal readings are being taken regularly at my place. I also have the chief from the police department and talking about, what I need to do, what needs to be done, and so far. Anytime they come out, I've been within the decimal rating.
And with the whole deal, like I said, it's not the decimals, it's the shut off time. If shut off's at 9 o'clock, shut it off. If it's at 11 o'clock, shut it off. It's going past, like the chief's saying, if it shut off's at 11 o'clock, there's music till 9, and I got plenty of videos in my house of thumping and bumping that I'll be more than willing to present to you guys even after 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, I'm trying to get little ones down and myself to get up at 9 o'clock and not have to hear thumping and bumping. Like I said, I got plenty of video evidence of that. I want to be cordial. I want to be, I respect the business owners of Dallas, but it's just at a certain time it needs to go off. And if it's 9 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock, cut it off. And I've got plenty of hour and a half, 2 hours past the time.
It's understandable, thank you both. All right, so we understand what we need for the next month. Okay. Next, we have electronic message board emergency disaster response plan. Mr. Newton. Mike, sorry.
I'll have the chief. So we had a public comment, last board meeting, citizen informed the board that they were getting the sign out here on the generator. I briefly spoke to Earl in regards to the emergency disaster response plan. He said he has been working on something individually. But I do agree this is something we all need to get together to get a plan of action together. Public safety, electric, fire, everybody together to get a plan set. So I guess the biggest conversation would be with the electric department and the sign out here, if the power is off, can we get that on the generator? We've talked briefly, and they can explain the generator part. And I think it is like the storm we had, the one in May was the biggest, but we have the internet. So when we have the internet, the computer is at town hall, it sends the signal. So either being on a generator or not, if there's no internet, you can't type anything in the center.
Can you do it from your phone? We have access.
I'm sure Zach could, but I'm not saying.
There's the mastermind.
You probably could download that software on your phone and do something. But I guess the biggest part would be if we on generator or not.
Is that an internet connection or the network connection?
I think it's network.
We should have power out here.
You said what?
You should be able to power out here. Long as town hall has a generator, that's a generator.
Does town hall, are we have generator? So,
Use generators, we would internet service.
Correct.
So,
Yeah. And like, that's what went down. I don't know if the tree hit something or whatever, but the internet itself, it went down. I don't think they're really studying on speak on what it takes to get that hooked up.
big sign spread out in the corner over here. So, on the power spot there. Not out of this big.
The only suggestion I have is I know the town's been involved on fixing this courtyard. We can put a plug inside that side, put a small generator inside of it and lock it up. You can't get back in, we're on, we get it out. To keep from tearing the courtyard back. I mean, you're probably talking $300 or $400 for a small generator to stick in there and be done.
So, like Sonny said, possibly get a generator, lock it up, pull it out when we need to, hook it up to the side. The other option is running a cable, I guess, over here, and that's another thing that's in our.
So can you, I guess the next steps would be looking into, I don't know if that's budgeted or what we have to do with that, but looking at getting a generator for that. And then however it works with the network, to make sure that we can download the software, whatever it might be, to connect to the billboard, electronic board. So,
Zach, it might be, might be able to put solar panels on top of that.
no. Sorry, that was a quick note. Maybe.
We're talking about small solar panels.
Oh, okay, I didn't mean,
Just something that you fit to the top of that.
something to like fit, nothing, okay, as long as it doesn't look like a tent. I trust you, Zach. I didn't mean to say a hard no that fast. I'm really sorry.
The generator would probably be best interest because you take some of my bill with your read or one of the, we can carry it out there, put it in there and fire it up and dump
Okay.
it. Yeah.
What'd you say?
I was thinking you'd never have to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And truthfully, we can leave it in the courthouse. There's plenty of spots. Locked up somewhere.
Right. Yeah, it'd be nice to not have to need it, but.
$12,000 we can pay.
Okay.
I
All right.
would, just 2 cents on the solar panels. If you did do that, what I've learned over the years is even though we own that, still historic preservation, so every time we do something, they have to get approval from them.
Okay.
So,
I'll make the
the only reason I know that is because we got some soccer players here, and I met with the museum assistant at the time, admin assistant. She was on that board, and she was telling me how they were happy about this sign, because they got approved.
record agreement policy with new fees. Mr. Newton.
I'll let Chief Walls take this from here.
So recently, over the last several months, even a year or so ago, I had some of our tow services reach out to me about our fees. We are very low on the fees as far as what they can charge on the rotation tows. When I went back and looked at our tow policy, the last time this policy was written, I think it was back in 2007, and may have been updated possibly in 2012. It was very dated. What I brought before y'all as I talked to the manager about it is upping those fees. We are the lowest in Gaston County on what the tow service can charge somebody on a rotation call. And once I've talked to some of those tow services, what they're running into is once they pay for fuel, personnel, things like that to get out there, they're not making any money off of being on our rotation list. So the proposal that I typed up was upping the tow fee to what's on average in Gaston County, which is $150. That's what the person would pay if they got their vehicle towed. $35 a day fee is an average of what the other cities are using for that. And then the new fee would be, previously, the town charged a $50 privilege fee for a rotation service to be a part of our rotation list, and up that fee to $150 to be on our list, and that's a one-time fee they pay every year. And currently, the tow services we have on our rotation list are Rock's Record, Gary's Record, Eric's Record Service, and then Southside Towing, which is located right outside of Atlanta.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Whose job is it to do, who's in charge of that rotation? Like Google gets called this time,
So
Gary gets called.
that's a good question. So when we had our own dispatch, our dispatcher used to have a list, and as one was called, they would check off that person, and then the next one, it would show that next one was available. Since we switched over to county communications, they keep up with that list. I did have a tow service call me today and ask some questions and said that what they've noticed is a lot of times when one of our dial sausage calls for a rotation, it's supposed to go by a list that I give them that tells them what tow services we've used. And each time they call one, they're supposed to mark them off, go to the next one, kind of in order so that everybody gets a fair share. What's happening is this tow service told me that he keeps track of that. He said that what they're doing at the county is they're using some of their tow services in the cars, which they shouldn't be doing that. I did tell him today that I would reach back out to county communications, and this time I'll do it for an email, so that I have a paper trail there to advise them that we only use these 4 services. These are only 4 record services that they should be using when they call for rotations.
I don't know if it's the same, but I had actually got it.
This should be like the call.
And it's a concern about the same thing, it says, you know, it's.
And I told him I'll do
continuous.
it tomorrow, and I'll make sure I have my email so that I can kind of keep a record of that. That we did tell them that we're only using these 4 services to tow.
Yeah, because they paid it.
Mhm.
I'm good with that.
And that's just a cleaned up policy, it was just.
When you get to clean the road up, the fire department don't go to record not going to the side road.
Well, they're supposed to, so in the new policy, I made sure that is in there. So what would happen is if the board approves this policy, the next thing will be, once it's approved, I would go to each one of our tow services. I would go out and make them check all their paperwork again, let them know about the new fee, and I would advise them that when they come out to the scene, it's their responsibility to clean the scene up, not the fire department.
Right now, the fire department, they do everything, they clean all, usually go record.
It's supposed to be the record services carrying a bucket with brooms and shovels. They're supposed to get all that out. That's included in with that fee. So I'll make sure that I emphasize that that's very important that they do that. That's not the responsibility of the fire department. That's supposed to fall on the tow service by our policy that they all have to read and sign up on.
So we're gonna go to 150 on the tow.
If you all agree, it would go up to $150 per tow if they were towed in for anything.
35 per store. At their building, in the store.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
Oh, are you done?
Anybody else?
Go ahead.
So the next would be personnel policy update. I gave you all a copy of the personnel policy back in October. As the salary study was done, it was approved last December. We're through the salary study now, and the last part of their payment was to update our personnel policy. And so with that, they have given it back to us, and my hope is to get it on the December meeting. And the reason I would like to push to get it approved is because there is a new law that went into effect for government network devices. It went into effect October 1st. So I just want to make sure that we're covered for that. Anything employees use for internet or cell phones and things like that. Basically, it's word for word. They added some new lingo to some items. But everything else, as far as our normal working hours, our pay, our break times, all that stuff is the same. The only discussion that I would want to entertain with this personnel policy would be the grievance officer. I think 5 or 6 years ago, it was pulled from Attorney Tom and given to the mayor, given to Mayor Coleman at the time. And so now it's still with the mayor. So do we want to keep it the same, or do we want to give it, reassign it back to the top or to the manager to do the replacement?
I have a personal preference on this one. I do not believe that any elected official, as far as us, and in the future, whoever comes after us, I do not believe that we need to be the freedom officers, and that we are the representatives for the town itself and the people that vote us in. And I think that it creates a conflict between us, our manager, and our staff if we have to make that decision and override a director who made that decision. So I think it needs to be more of a third party or someone involved in the town, like our attorney, or someone to, I know I'm speaking really passionate about this, but it is, I don't think that it's appropriate for any of us to make that decision. Although we are unbiased and supportive of the town and our staff, it just puts everyone in a really.
It does, and statutorily, our policy trumps it, and statutorily, the board doesn't have any, staff other than myself, so I agree with that. It's just, now if y'all would like to do that, we decide does it go to the attorney or does it go to the manager. I would be fine to do it. My only issue is that we are so small. I am going to hear if someone is terminated or written up or something like that. So I'm already going to hear from the director or supervisor side, but I'll still have to do it on my opinion. Or you can go to the attorney who is not involved, and you just call up and say, hey, so-and-so is doing agreements for this, and you reach out and see what's going on. So that's the only recommendation I have to change in the personnel policy before I bring it for approval.
Right now, for the mayor,
Correct. And it's been that way for maybe 4 or 5 years. The only issue that I would see long term is if there is a grievance that would turn into a possible lawsuit, then I would lean on to Tom to give me advice. And if he is giving advice on it, then how can he overturn a grievance if he has to? But I think that is a far from eternity.
Who do you recommend?
what do you recommend?
I would say
Would you want it to stop with you? Would you want it to stop with you, or?
well, ultimately, what it would boil down to, Tom could be the grievance officer here. He could hear it out, and then he would come and say, hey, Jonathan, this is my decision, and therefore I would tell that employee, or I would tell that employee the verdict, the answer. Same as when the mayor's work now, ultimately, they were supposed, the policy doesn't state that, is they were supposed to tell that person, however, it should tell the manager.
HR does the write-ups, and then the person that files the grievance will communicate that with HR. HR communicates that with me, and then we have a meeting. So HR is already in the handling of just simply the paperwork behind it.
And HR was involved when the action took place, so.
Right, so they can't.
Right now, we are. It's tough.
But we also aren't supposed to have any interference or say with what staff is doing, so then that contradicts what our policy says.
So we can
Put it in committee, but then that's still on us.
You, when I first started, the whole board, we upheld, I think, 2 different requirements. The whole board did. Then went to the other committee, then went to the mayor. I don't think one person should have to say so, employee's future here. Me said, I'd be okay if it was the whole board. That way you got 5, 6 people counting the mayor. It's got an unbiased opinion, so it could be, I could have something get jacked. Right when HR is fine, trying to do whatever. And so we're doing.
I don't hate that idea.
I always say when employees leave, they ought to have an exit interview. I think the board also, there, I think we tell HR even. You're not gonna go to town hall and say anything, anybody in town hall. Need to be for this entire board, or 6 people here. So you have people leaving, that shouldn't leave.
Right.
They would live for different reasons.
Yeah.
I don't see anything on the whole board. The whole board was involved. You call a special meeting.
Yeah, but the thing with the special meeting, how many days out do you have to call a special meeting? They get to post it. Special meeting?
Well, but for this one.
But you have to make it public knowledge if we're all together at the same time.
Correct, but it's, it varies depending on the meeting, but 2 days to 7.
Oh, it's only 2 days?
24 hours.
But as long as you post it, that we're gonna be together. Okay, I was just making sure because there's a 10-day from start to finish of the grievance. So I just wanted to make sure that we would have enough time to get in. And as long as it's a quorum or majority,
Yeah.
or what, as long as 3 people can make it? What's
You're
it?
not allowed.
Yeah.
If you look good down.
You just have to keep in mind that that's a public meeting, so
Right,
anybody that want to come sit here, they could.
yeah, so then somebody else's business would be out there, if they wanted to hear it.
I know when we done the first area, it was closed. First day we should close.
Well, that is true.
We were under a different, former government at that time. We ran
Their council.
yes.
But now it's manager
No.
council.
And that's the, probably, it was like that, but the board done everything.
But I can look, let me look at some other municipalities and see who they have, see, what the majority of the other municipalities do.
Right, but it does, I agree, well, I don't think that it does need to weigh off one person.
I
That's kind of what I'm
wouldn't
getting at.
mind.
Yeah, it's hard. Okay, so moving forward with that, you good? Everybody else okay? Okay, great. Thank you for that. All right, mayor's recognition. A couple things, I would like to recognize some people in the community, and we'll start kind of doing these regularly. December 1st, that is going to be the Jasmine Malker Day of Caring. And what they're gonna do is there's a street that is adopted, and her mother, Stacy, will be the leader of that, and they're gonna do a cleanup day on the street that's adopted on December 1st. So just wanted to recognize her and Jasmine on December 1st, that it's going to be the Jasmine Celeste Walker Day again. Next, I would like to let everyone know that a young lady named Kylie Camp was selected as mayor for the day today. She and I think 5 other students were selected, so they had 1 mayor and then 5 council people. They got to sit up here and do a little celebration ceremony, and she led the Pledge of Allegiance. She had some really good ideas. She brought to her, one of her ideas was that the town of Dallas needs a handicap playground. Handicap accessible playground. Not that ours don't meet the ADA standards, but something that's more inclusive for those that are handicapped. So I think that she's gonna take my place next time, because that was a great idea. So she did a really good job, and the kids really liked it. And that's all I have for you, Jonathan.
I got something for the electric department.
Go right ahead.
Bobby?
We have a problem on 321. In the Praise Street, our welcome sign, the lights are out.
On the south side?
Oh, the Dallas sign, the lights out. At night, I come through there last night and it was out. Couple of gas on, coming out of gas station coming on Praise Street. There wasn't no lights on last night. Maybe it's not. Oh. Does she need to appoint committee member?
She can.
That doesn't have to be, so nobody knows what to do.
You know about like the public works, public safety. Yeah. Well, we've not had it since I've been here, we've had any of those meetings. But yeah, she can reappoint and reassign.
Cover all the way.
So it's been saying, so when Harvey Kleiner came on, he took over our names list, but we can get a list of that.
I don't think that great. I mean, it's, we have been notified about it. And
I just told them that, so we don't have.
It's not all, it's always, just even.
Yeah, we can do that if we need to change them every year, we can change them every year.
All right, Mr. Ring, do you have anything for us for the manager's report?
Just the upcoming events, that Capital Square, December 6th, parade the 8th. And that's it. You all have a great Thanksgiving. My office will be closed Thursday and Friday. So thanks for that.
Something else, I do know Chief Withers is sick, so we'll just keep him in our prayers. That'd be great.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?